Okay, honey, welcome. So this is the review session here for your week six class. Okay, and the topic of this review and the topic of that class was yes or no questions and making positive, negative responses. So I'll try and be, reasonably streamlined here and give you a little review on that. So I'm going to share my screen and we'll get to it. Okay, there we go. So looking at this, this is already sort of taking into account that you kind of know how to make little sentences. You know how to take an animate noun and pair it with a VAI to make a little two-word sentence, or you can take an inanimate noun and pair it with a little VII verb and make a little inanimate sentence. So, having the understanding that you know how to do that, we can then take that those little sentences and convert them into questions. Okay, and it's really not that hard to do. So again, yes or no questions in Ojibwe. We looked at this in class, but it's a pretty easy. Just add what's the little word? Just add na. Okay. You put na in there and you have a yes or no question. Now, little trick with that, na must always be the what word in the sentence? First, second, third, fifth, last, right? Where does it need to be in the sentence? Na must be the second word in the question. Okay, super important. Na will be the second word in the question. Now, that also then highlights another thing that there's another special spot, and that special spot is the first word in the question. Okay. If none needs to be second, that means there's a little first slot in front of it, and then you've got infinite slots behind it. Okay. So that first slot is also very important, that first position, the first word in the question. Okay. And we looked at that last week as well, or during the week as well. And the first word in a question will be the kind of thing you don't know or the thing you are seeking to know by asking the question. Okay, and we'll get into that as we do a couple examples, but really important to know these things. Okay, to make a yes or no question, you just add na. Na must be the second word in the question. That means that the first word in the question will be the thing you don't know, or the thing that you're seeking to know by asking the question, kind of the whole point in asking to begin with. Okay. The thing you're looking to know will be the first word. Okay. So let's start very, very simple. Okay. If I take any old VAI verb, okay, like anything out there, I could take a verb like muezo, muezo, and muezo means he or she picks berries. Muezo. And it's a VAI. Okay. So then what I can do is if muezo is the first word, na then becomes the second word because it's the only place it can go as the second word. I can then put a question mark and I've made a question, right? And what would that question be? Is she picking berries? Okay. So that's kind of what it does. Okay. It takes whatever that first word is and makes a yes or no out of it. Okay. Muezo, he picks berries. Muezo na, is he picking berries? Kind of sort of straightforward. Okay. Um, That also works for VII verbs. Okay, so again, I can take a VII like Bokshka, and Bokshka is a VII that means it is broken, period. Okay, and if I say Bokshka na, it then makes the question, is it broken? And that's that. Okay. So really easy with a VAI or a VII. Pretty straightforward, especially when there's just the one word. We can then, of course, jump up and add another word. And an easy way to do that is like subject and verb. Okay. So we'll do another little pair like this. Okay. How about something like um, if I want to make the question, is the and maybe we'll pick some sort of a critter. Maybe we'll do something like this. Is the owl heard? Okay. Or like, do they hear the owl? Can it be heard? So the owl is the subject. Go, ko, ko. Go, ko, ko is the owl. And then we want a VAI verb to say he or she is heard. And that VAI verb is non dagaze, non dagaze. Go, 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 known dog is it? The owl is heard, or they hear an owl. Go, 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 known dog is it? So then we can make it a question by adding na. Okay, so you might just go, oh yeah, na's the second word. Boom. Go, 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 na, known dog is it? However, remember that the first slot is the thing that you don't know, or the thing that you're trying to get out of the question. So is it that, is it an owl or not? Or is he heard or not? I'll say that again because what's the thing we're trying to find? Is it that he's an owl or not? Or is it that is he being heard? It's definitely is he being heard? Okay. So that's actually what's going to go up at the front. Okay. It'll actually be non dogaze na gogoko is the owl heard. Okay. It won't always be the verb first. Okay. That's not like a oh, it goes verb and then and then whatever else. Not always. Okay. You can't get two in that habit. Do each question on a case by case basis and think, what's the thing I don't know? And here we don't know if he's heard or not. So that's why we put that as the first word. Okay. The thing you don't know, nah, and then everything else. All right. Let's do another one. I guess I'll say that a couple times. Non dogoze na gogoko. Non dogoze na gogoko. And then we'll look at a VII sentence. Okay. So our VII sentence would be some, oh, we might as well do like an equivalent to that. So I'll maybe do like, is the, um, and maybe I'll do something along the lines of like this, is the radio heard? Okay. So the word for a radio in the language is bizin damwin. Okay, bizin damwin. Bizin damwin is the radio, and the radio is inanimate. So then we need to pick a VII verb to talk about anything that the radio is doing. Okay. In this case, being heard. So then non da gwad is the pair to non dog is it. Non dog is it. He or she is heard. Non dog would. It is heard. Okay. Bisn dumwin, non dog would. The radio is heard. Now, if I want to make it a question, again, you could just be like, oh, not second word, but then think about it. What do we want to know here? Do I want to know, is it a radio or not? Or do I want to know, is the radio heard or not? In this case, definitely, I want to know if it's heard or not. That's what I really want to know here. So I'm going to reorganize that. so that known dogwood is first. Known dogwood na is in Damwin is the radio heard. Okay. Known dog is a na gogo ko. Known dogwood na is in Damwin. Okay. We're going to skip right ahead to maybe doing like a plural example, and we'll make an answer for it so you can see what a positive answer would look like. Okay, so I'll pick an entirely new kind of VAI example here, and we'll do that positive, and then we might as well make a negative answer while we're at it. Okay, especially because this is review. So let's do it. So I'll do something like is the or I guess plural, are the frogs singing? Okay, something like that. And maybe I'll even add a location because that's something that we were kind of learning about too, having like a locative in there, right? So maybe I'll do something like, are the frogs singing? Um, maybe something like, well, I guess I could keep it easy and do something like, well, I'll do it like this. At the, you know what? I'm going to do something fun, like at the pond. Okay, let's do something fun here. So are the frogs singing at the pond? All right. So the first thing you're going to do is find the word for a frog. All right, maybe you know it. Mugki, mugki. There's of course a long vowel form like omugaki, omugaki, but in your community you'll hear mugki. Okay, so mugki, the frog. The frog is animate, of course. So then I find a VAI verb. He or she sings. Some of you might know this verb just off of your head, this VAI. Nagamo, nagamo, nagamo. He or she sings. Nagamo. Mugki, nagamo. The frog sings. Mugki, nagamo. Let's make it plural. Okay. Mugki ends in a long I and it's animate. So we need it to end in a G no matter what because it's animate. It already has a long vowel. It already ends in E. So we're not going to add more vowels to that. That'd be crazy. So it's going to be Mugkeeg. Okay, Mugkeeg is now the frogs. Now we're out of alignment. Mugkeeg is plural. Nagamo is singular. That doesn't work. Okay, so we need to pluralize Nagamo. It is a VAI and it ends in a vowel. So a vowel ending VAI ends in wug when it is plural. Okay, so we end up with Mugkeeg Nagamwug. Mugkeeg Nagamwug. Mugkeeg Nagamwug. The frogs are singing. Now let's do at the pond. Okay, this one will be fun. There's different ways to make a pond, but we're going to do kind of a fun way that'll give you some review on nouns too. So you could start with the word for a lake. Okay, the word for a lake is game. Now we're going to actually stack suffixes here. So if we want to take a lake and make it a pond, a lake is big, a pond is small. So let's make it small. Okay, with a diminutive ending. Game already ends in a short I. You only have ons, ins, ons, ans to pick from. So if you've already got an I, you'd be crazy not to just lengthen that I and make gamis. Gamis is now a little lake, or it could be a pond. Okay, gamis. So now we have the little lake or the pond. And now we want to say at the pond. So on that diminutive, I'm going to add a locative. Gamising. Okay, gamising. Gamising. At the pond. Gamising. Magkig nagamwag. Gamising. The frogs sing at the pond. Now let's make it a question, right? Because we want to put a question mark on here. Are the frogs singing at the pond? So again, the thing I don't know here, I know that they're frogs, and we're sort of assuming that, we're talking about the pond. We know it's the pond. What we don't know is if they're singing or not. So that will go to my first word, nagamwag. Second word is na, right? Always going to be the second word. So the thing you don't know, if they're singing or not, na, and then everything else. Nagamwag na magkig sing. Are the frogs singing at the pond? Okay, great question. Nagamwag na magkig sing. Let's say we want to make it a yes question or a yes answer. Ah, yes. And then I can be super lazy and I can copy and paste my question. Nagamwag. We're going to get rid of na because we're answering the question now, right? Nagamwag magkigimising. Yes, they are singing the frogs at the pond. Okay, remember Yoda talk, right? Yoda Moen. Yes, they are singing the frogs at the pond, right? Think if it sounds good to Yoda, it's going to sound good in Ojibwe. Okay, so there's your positive answer. Yes, they are singing at the pond. And the gamuak magkik gimising. Or we could make a negative answer, okay, and say no, they are not singing at the pond. So let's do it. Our first word, when you're making a negative sentence, will be gaween. Okay, gaween is the first word. And then we can still keep the same order. We can still have nagamwak. We can still have mugkeeg. And we can still have gamising. That's all fine. Okay. But we can't just leave it like this and say gaween nagamwak mugkeeg gamising. It's not a negative sentence yet. What we need to do is add the negative onto the verb. And on a VAI verb, okay, especially one ending in a vowel like nagamo, the negative will be C. And C goes directly onto the end of the verb and then plural comes after it. Okay, if you're going to be stacking things, the negative goes right away. So I'm going to put them both in red, Galween and C, so you can see that they are working together. Galween, nagamo siwag, magkig, gamising. The frogs are not singing at the pond. Nagamwag na magkig gamising. Galween, nagamo siwag, magkig, gamising. Nagamwag na magkig gamising. Gawin nagamosiwag magkig gamising. Okay, we'll do one more example. All right, but this time we'll do it with a VII. And what's funny is we didn't do a VII negative in class, but just because we ran out of time, but I'll do one here. We'll cover it anyway when we come to our next class. So, you're going to get to see these anyway. So let's do something kind of like that. And we'll just make it a singular one just to make it easy, okay? So we'll do something like this. How about does the I don't know. I guess we can make it plural. Do the eggs taste bad? Do the eggs taste bad? Do the eggs taste bad? So we're going to start with the egg, okay? Maybe you know the word for egg. Wa one is the egg. Wa one is inanimate. So we need to find a VII to talk about it tasting bad. And the verb it tastes bad is manger pugwat. Manger pugwat. Manger pugwat. It tastes bad. Wa one manger pugwat. The egg tastes bad. Let's make it plural. The plural for wawan is deceptive. It's inanimate, so you might think, oh, and it ends in N, so wawanan. But it's not wawanan. Wawanon. Okay, and that's just how she goes. It's just an exception. Normally that would be un, but it's own. And that's just how that noun works. Okay, and then we have majapugwat, which is the VII. It needs to be plural. Okay, so a VII ending in a consonant becomes majapugwat Okay, and that is the plural. Majapagwadon. Now again, do we want to know, is it the eggs that taste bad, or do the eggs taste bad? In this case, we know that they're eggs. What I don't know is if they taste bad or not. Like I've got two eggs in my hand and I'm saying, do they taste bad? So that's what I don't know, is if they taste bad or not. So Majapagwadon goes first. Majapagwadon na wawanon. Do the eggs taste bad? Okay. The thing you don't know, first word. Do they taste bad? Na is the second word. Everything else comes after. All right. Let's skip straight to a negative answer. We want to say no, the eggs don't taste bad. So our first word, hope you can guess that one right. Gaween. Okay. And now we can keep our same order. Okay. The order can be preserved because that often works really, really well. So I can copy paste. Don't forget to remove na. Get rid of that. All right. We're not done yet. Okay. We have Gaween, Majapugwad, Wawanon, but that does not mean they don't taste bad. Okay. We're not negative yet. So we've got Majapugwad. Okay. And what we actually need to add to the end of it is the VII negative. You know, with VAIs, we did C, but it's not Majapahwad C. Okay. That's for VAIs. We're in VII world. So the negative that you add on VIIs is typically Sinone. Sinone, VII negative. Okay. So it is not something. Sinone, when you put that at the end. Now on Majapahwad, because it ends in a D, the D final VIIs, you delete the D to preserve like vowel, consonant order. Okay. So you end up with Majapahguasinon. Majapahguasinon. It does not taste bad. Majapahguasinon. So sinon is the negative. But now, if you look at the plural we had, own, right, that I had sort of moved away for a second to make the negative, we're not going to say Majapahguasinonon. Okay, that's insane. Okay, so we're gonna not use that negative anymore because we have a, or so we're not gonna use that plural anymore because we have a negative. So Majapahguasinon un. Okay, that's now the new plural, and we're back to business. Okay, and sinon is the negative, and there it is. Okay, Gawin Majapahguasinon un wawanon. Gawin Majapahguasinon un wawanon. No, the eggs don't taste bad. Majapahguadon na wawanon. Gawin Majapahguasinon un wawanon. Majapahguadon na wawanon. Gawin Majapahguasinon un wawanon. So there it is. Okay, there's a VII negative. I'll show you one other just like a straight up just negative. Like, you know, if I want to say something like the, you know, boat floats on the river, I would say the boat is Gmon, floats is Agunde, the VII for that, of course, and on the river, Zbing. Okay, the boat floats on the river. If I want to take that and make it negative, I'll put the negative just under it so you can compare them side by side. The negative would be the boat doesn't float on the river, right? That's the English. And in the language, we start with Gawin. Jimon's fine, it's the canoe. Agunde is the verb. That's the only place you can put negatives, right? You can only put negatives on verbs. They don't go on nouns, they don't go on adverbs, they don't go on locatives, they don't go on anything else, only on verbs. So agunde means it floats, and I want to say it doesn't float. So at the end of it, I put the suffix Sinon. And Sinon, we can put it straight on. We don't need to do any like fancy, like, oh, drop the D, nothing like that, because it already ends in a vowel, so life's easy. And there it is, okay? Gawin, Gmon, Agundesinon, Zibing. Gawin, Gmon, Agundesinon, Zibing. Gawin, Gmon, Agundesinon, Zibing. The boat doesn't float on the river. Okay. And you could make the question, right? Agunde na Gmon Zibing? Gawin Gmon Agunde Sinon Zibing. Does the boat float on the river? No, it doesn't. Okay, so that's just another example just to show you a negative sidebar on a VII. Okay, so you can sort of take away from this basically VAI negative is going to be Gawin and C, and then your VII negative is going to be Gawin and Sinon. Okay, so there's your little cheat code. There's your little hack. So play around with this. If you want things to do throughout the week where you're like, oh, I want to practice my Ojibwe a little bit from this class, practice negatives. Find VAI verbs and make them negative. You've got the verb wisene, he eats. Gawin wisnesi, he doesn't eat. Perfect. You could use the verb like ozawa, it is yellow. Gawin ozawa sinon, it's not yellow, right? So you can do VAIs and VIIs, right? Practice those negatives. And certainly you can practice those negatives to answer questions, right? So that's really the things that you can work on. Make some yes or no questions. The thing you don't know, then then any other details, and then make some positive and negative answers using VAIs and VIIs. Throw in plurals if you're feeling wild, and a locative or two, and you'll have your hands full with lots to work on. Okay, so hopefully that was an effective little review for you guys. And certainly next week we're going to pick this up in class and do a lot more practice with this, and you'll get the hang of it. Okay, so that's it. I hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned some stuff, and we'll see you next week. Okay, you watch.